yes, there was a question on here. We are live on Facebook. The Facebook page is called Radius Agent. And I just sent that link on the chat. All right, let's kick this off. So hi, everyone. Welcome to Radius Agents Tuesday Talks webinar. The title today, as you know, is the Blueprint to Online Leads and Conversions. A little bit about Radius. I'm one of the co-founders. My name is Tanya, and the Radius Agent overall is a community of agents and brokers. We have about 60,000 agents on the platform, and we offer some incredible products for our agents to improve their productivity and to make them independent. One of these is Radius Assist, which is a lead qualification concierge, which you'll hear a little bit about later today. And then we have Radius Agent Realty, which is a brokerage that we just launched in California and Colorado, where it's 100% commission brokerage, and we offer you personal branding support and leads. So that's a little bit of introduction on us. I am super excited about today's panel. I think everybody knows that client referrals is a big piece of how agents grow their business, but it's equally important to know how to leverage online leads. And this panel, that we have two team leaders here. We have Tanya Hawkins, she's a team leader at Remax Preferred. We have Michael Bardales, he's a team leader at Compass. And we have Chris Linsell, he is a real estate writer at The Close, and he's a real estate coach. He's actually also going to be a Radius Academy author. He's going to be doing a course for us. So super excited to have this team. I'm going to kick this off. Michael, why don't you just start with introducing yourself, tell us a little bit about your business, and we go from there.
Yeah, thank you for having me. My name is Michael Bardales. I live in Oakland, California. I'm a realtor in the Bay Area for the past 16 years. The first 8 years I was in lending, and the last 8 I was actually in real estate sales. I am the team leader for East Bay Group with Compass, also the president for NAREP San Ramon Valley chapter, and also a board of director for the Pittsburgh Chamber of Commerce.
Thanks. Chris, you want to go next?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Chris Linsell. I'm a senior real estate writer and coach for a real estate website called The Close. At The Close, our mission is to provide fantastic answers to all real estate questions. And I work on content that dives deeply into strategy, specifically in the forms of lead generation, technology, and helping agents understand the industry direction as a whole. I also do a lot of coaching and consulting, and work with agents of all stripes to level up their business. And I am a licensed real estate professional in the state of Michigan, coming to you from beautiful Traverse City on the western edge of Lake Michigan.
Nice. Tanya?
I'm Tanya Hawkins, and I'm the team leader for the Prime Group of Remax Preferred. I am also on the board of directors for the Realtor Association of Southwestern Illinois. I'm here in O'Fallon, Illinois, and we are just across the river from the St. Louis Metro. So we support a lot of people who work in St. Louis, as well as military families at Scott Air Force Base.
Nice. So I am super excited to have everyone. I think I've known all of you, have gotten to know all of you over the last few weeks, and Tanya for much longer, actually. And so I have a few questions that I'd like to ask you guys about your business. And if anybody has any questions, I forgot to mention this earlier, please make sure to either raise your hand or just ask questions in the chat, and we'll get to all the questions at the end. And so to kick this off, Michael and Tanya, can you tell us what online lead sources you're using and why you picked these sources? Tanya, maybe you can start.
So our online lead sources are Zillow, Realtor.com, Trulia. We also do a lot of lead sources through our website and Remax.com and that.
Got it. And so how did you pick these? Was it just about like, these are the ones I know have the most traffic coming in, or was it a little bit of trial and error? How did you pick these?
It did involve quite a bit of trial and error. I've been doing this for about 13 years. And so figuring out where the eyeballs are, as we have transitioned has been interesting, but Zillow seems to really dominate our local market here as far as people using that particular piece of technology.
Got it. Got it. What about you, Michael?
Yeah, I think there's like 3 buckets of like leads where you can get, and I kind of just get all the buckets, right? So yeah, definitely like the Zillow. Some of our team members are Redfin partner agents as well. So that's our bucket right there. The second bucket is Google AdWords. I think that's pretty popular. We do a lot of that as well. And then we also do Facebook ads and social media marketing as well. So I think those 3 buckets determine exactly where our leads come from and how they convert. Obviously, Zillow's a little bit more serious. Those people definitely want to see the house that minute, that second. Social media ads take some time to nurture and things of that magnitude. So I think with all of those buckets, they all kind of like, month 1 is Zillow, month 2 is Facebook ads, and then they kind of catch up with each other. So I would say about 60% of it, it's going to be online leads with Zillow. Then the other 40% is going to be mixed with social media and also good Google AdWords.
Got it. Got it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a huge breadth, right? Like, I think social media is definitely like further up in the funnel. Like they might just be browsing, and then there are more direct inquiries. What have you seen as like something that has been extremely important for you to implement when it comes to conversion? So what are some best practices on conversion that you've added on to your roadmap to be able to actually see value coming out of these leads?
Well, first and foremost, we said leads, right? But they're actually people. And I think that's the mindset we need to have first and foremost, is that we're actually calling someone's cell phone. We're actually calling someone's email. We're actually talking to the person's first and last name. We have that ability to look them up too, right? I mean, some of us can actually Google the people. I do my research before I call a lead. Some of these systems actually interact where they put their social media stuff on the CRM. So we're able to do a little bit more research. So I think instead of just jumping into it, I know there's speed to lead, but there's also just that one chance. For me, I'd rather take my time and make that one call. I don't care if 6 realtors called before, they're not going to have a call like Michael. So for me, that's my mindset when I go into it. So I go into it as a conversation, not a questionnaire. Chances are I'm going to be like, hey, today's a great day in the Bay Area. What part of Oakland do you live? Oh, that's wonderful. So that's my way of going about leads. And then I go into sort of the core in the middle of it. But I leave a lot of the real estate sales and who I am as a person until I actually meet with you. I think sometimes when we take leads on us as realtors, we like to talk about each other. And the client's like, I called about 123 Main Street, not your resume. So I try to focus more on what they want from us. And then when they meet me and we sit down and we talk, we have a buyer consultation. That's when I can, throw out the real estate hat and say, hey, this is what I've done. This is what I do. But for me, I believe is just treating these leads like people, not just leads.
Right. Absolutely. Tanya?
Yes, most definitely. I couldn't agree more, especially in a market where you have tight inventory. Trying to really have someone trust you and not continue to just click the button to call whoever's next, and just talk to a million realtors. You really are trying to make a great impression as someone they can trust, someone who has experience, and someone who is going to guide them through one of the most difficult transactions in their portfolio.
Right. What about you, Chris? I know you've done a lot of research in this space and have talked to obviously a lot of top performing realtors. What do you think works when it comes to conversions?
Well, I think the first thing that that I would want to address on this particular subject is the importance of what Michael and Tanya said about treating folks as people, because ultimately we are in a people business. I would say we're not even in a house business. We're in a people business here. Houses happen to be a part of it. When it comes to conversion, though, we have to put on a secondary hat here, which carries a certain amount of kind of data analysis and understanding what it takes to convert leads based on certain sources. So as an example here, my path towards successful conversion on a Zillow lead is different than what my path is for a Facebook lead, which is also very different from what the path from a referral would be, or from a repeat client, or from a sphere nurturing sense. And so when you're talking about your overall conversion optimization and converting your leads, regardless of where they come from, the first thing I always start with agents, regardless of where they're at in their business, is let's understand your lead sources and the most efficient way to get you to that highest conversion rate possible. Because, that immediate phone call back might be exactly what that lead needs, depending on the source. On other sources, it might be, like Michael was saying, it might be that really thoughtful, personalized conversation that is going to get you across that finish line. But overall, if you are grouping all of your leads into a single bucket and just treating them all the same, your conversion rates are generally going to be pretty poor, because not all lead sources are the same, just like not all leads are the same.
So, Chris, is there how should one think about tracking the ROI on each of these sources? Like, is there technology that you recommend, or is there a process that they need to be thorough with? Like, what would you say is like the thing to do here?
That's a great question. So I'll first start off by saying there is not to my knowledge, I'd be happy if somebody wanted to drop in the chat a magic bullet for tracking all of this. But as of right now, there isn't a specific tool that I suggest to folks other than using the smart kind of orbital tools that we already have, like your CRM as a good example here. When you are tracking those conversions, one thing that I suggest to folks is treat each lead opportunity as an experiment that you can iterate on. So, for example, let's say you are heavily invested in Bold Leads. They're a popular real estate lead generation platform. Every time you get a Bold Leads lead, you should be thinking to yourself, what did I do last time that worked? How can I iterate on that? How can I improve on that? How can I create a better experience than even the good one I already had? And in my office, I've got literally a workflow, a piece of paper. I wish I had it. I could hold it up for you, with 6 columns on it. And at the top of each column is the lead source. And as we go down the column, as we go down the funnel, there are the steps. Here's the step that I want to take next. Here's the step that I want to take next. Here's the step that I want to take next. And each of those steps, they start in pencil, because I want to verify that it works a couple of times before I write it in pen. So there is a certain amount of experimentation and iteration that takes place here. And eventually you're going to be able to start writing things in pen, because you're going to determine, okay, this lead source, more often than not, speed is more important, or an immediate answer to their specific question is more important, or text messages work better than phone calls, work better than emails. There's all sorts of ways that you can iterate on that return process. But ultimately, if you want to get good at tracking your results, you first have to start measuring your results.
Got it. So, Michael, how are you measuring your results? You're obviously tracking a lot of different lead sources. How do you know which one's working, which one's not?
Well, I joined a coaching system called the Metrics Training, and they actually gave me a form and a spreadsheet that actually has an ROI on each of our deals. I remember when I first got into real estate, and my wife, she's an accountant. So I used to be like, oh, I made like 12 grand on this deal. She made, no, you made $9,875. So that mindset is actually how we should do our leads, how we should do each deal, right? What is your ROI, right? So if you take a listing, for example, you might say, okay, that source came from Bold Leads. That's a cost right there. Then there's actually the photos, and there's a video, so on and so forth. And then you go down, taxes, all that case. And then you sit there and see, this is my ROI on this actual deal compared to what I did. So that's what we do. That's what I've done. I don't use a spreadsheet as much, because it's more mental now, because everything in real estate is more adding, subtraction, percentages. So I'm decent with that with the calculator. So for me, yeah, I believe that like each of my deal, I want to know what I was able to put into it to actually make that dollar amount. So that's a great way of tracking it. And I think exactly what Chris said. Yeah, each of these leads come in. Sometimes, we're like, oh, is that a Facebook lead? Is that a Google lead? Is that Zillow? We usually categorize them with that. And based on what lead source that Chris said, that's how we treat them. And that's correctly good. And we'll talk a little bit more about what Radius does for us in regards to the ISA programs. But there's just different facets. Like for us with Zillow, I probably don't want to give that away to anyone else. I want to lead the call. And then from there, I can determine, oh, this is a great fit for me, or you know what, you're going to be good for Will, or you're going to be good for Angelica, or so on and so forth. So as a team leader, I'm able to sit there and talk to the lead first, build that rapport, and then toss them to the agent, but then also understand exactly what that dollar amount costs. And every lead's different, right? So for me, you want to know exactly what you're putting out there, because you won't really know how much you're making.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a good segue into this, actual process of what happens with speed to lead as well, because I think every single article and blog you read is like, for the online leads, the sooner you reach out, the better, because there is a lot of competition here. So Tanya and Michael, I know you're using very different approaches to this. Tanya, your team takes on these leads as they come in. So can you talk a little bit about how that process works for you, and what technology you're using to reach out to them right away?
So we use Follow Up Boss, and the autoresponder from Follow Up Boss immediately is a text that just is trying to get an appointment with them, because I would say better than 80% of the time, the person who is on the other end of the lead source has been clicking around and has innocently said, I want more information, but they're not necessarily in a place where they can take an active call. And so we have found that that has helped us a great deal as far as making really effective connections with people. As far as tracking for us, each of the team members, and myself included, we provide a weekly report. It is just a really basic, dumbed down, A, B, and C pipeline. What am I going to do to get a closing in 30 days? Just a real broad view of what's going on in their business. But along with that is tracking of each of the leads that they've received or the connections that they've received. And that is how we really, and that translates into the closing sheets. So we see, where did this business come from? And we were surprised that this year, despite the fact, or maybe because of the fact that we were in the middle of this pandemic, our online lead sources really carried the brunt of where open houses maybe would have done that before. Yeah. So that's one of the things that has really changed for us. But that weekly report helps them get an eye on the landscape of their business, because my team, it's not just my business, it's their business as well. And it helps me to kind of see where the leads are coming from, and we can track that ROI.
Got it. And how big is your team, Tanya?
I have 4 buyers agents and 1 full-time director of operations and a part-time marketing assistant.
Got it. And Michael, I know you're using Assist for a part of your business. What does your process look like, and what tech are you using for the speed to lead part of this?
Yeah, so we put each people, I'm gonna start saying people now, instead of lead. But each people gets categorized, right? So when they first come in, they're a lead, and just like everyone else, speed to lead, that lead should not be in lead status no longer than that day, hopefully that hour. After they're either in attempted contacted or contacted, and then that's the category. And then we tag them hot, warm, hot, nurtured, or watch. Hot are those that are gonna buy within the next 3 months. Nurtured are those for 3 to 6 months, and then warm are those 6 months or later. But I also take it a step further, and I created this spreadsheet of all my active clients and then also my nurture clients. And I actually put how much money I can make off these individuals in the transaction to motivate myself. Like, wow, I actually have $200,000 right now of active clients. I actually have X amount of dollars in nurture leads, and then our watch. So I think being able to categorize them is super, super important, because you're able to sit there and see what money you are able to make in the next few months. You have a target. You're like, hey, I have John, Jacob, and Mary. They're all ready to go. So if I find them a house this month, I can make X amount of money. So that's the motivation that we put behind these leads, is also the dollar amount that you can make off these individuals, as well as how much it takes to do that. So that's what we do. So with Zillow, we actually take them in, and then we have you guys, Radius, as ISA for our Facebook leads and our Google AdWords, because those are a little bit more nurture. And we love the way you guys follow up and how you set up those concierge. So now, because those come in massive, right, Chris? I mean, like, I could do a Google campaign for $100 and get like almost 120 leads, or probably more. so I need support in that. So that's where I lean to you guys. And now we're able to get scrub individuals that are willing to have that conversation with us. And that takes a huge legwork out of us. So for us, it's all about making sure we categorize them. So when we talk to the agents, I can just go, okay, this is your attempted contacts. These are your things. And it's basically a 10-day process, right? We try to get them at least 25 touches within 10 days. And then we submit them to whoever. But I think that's super important to just categorize your leads, and at the same time, find some assistance to follow up on the leads that require a little bit more nurturing, a little bit more watching.
Yeah. So, I think there's this concept of like when to take external help, right? Like tech can play one part of this. Like Follow Up Boss is playing a huge role in terms of making sure a message goes out right away. And with Assist, we add on a call on top of that, like you get called right away. But when do you know in your business that I need external help? Like my team doesn't have the capacity to do it. So Chris, how would you help agents think about this? Like when to hire an ISA versus not, or when to hire a transaction coordinator versus not?
This is a really great question, and it actually comes up pretty regularly. And I'm always interested in hearing the backstory behind it, because it's typically variations on the same story, which is, my business is going great. I've got lots of clients. I'm working until 10 o'clock at night, and I still am not as caught up as I want to be. And really where this all translates to is my business has grown to a stage where the number of hours in the day are not sufficient to continue that growth. I'm going to start plateauing based on the amount of time I have. And like Michael was saying, I actually was really, Michael, I thought your insight there into how you are using the lead qualification process both internally and using Radius Assist, that's really insightful, and a model I'm excited to talk about with my clients. Ultimately, there are certain things that are going to qualify and be indicators that it's time to start expanding your team. The first one is time. If you physically do not have time to manage the business that you have and continue on your growth path, then it's time to invest elsewhere to allow you the bandwidth you need to do the work that you were born to do. The second thing that I tell folks, and this is, I want to say this is specific to times like right now, times like 2020. We've never been in a world or economic situation like we are right now, but people are forgetting we have been in boom real estate times before. And there are a lot of characteristics of what's happening in our market right now that resemble boom real estate times. We've got historically high median sale prices. We have historically high demand. We have historically low interest rates. Our inventory shortage is a big problem, but it is continuing to drive our demand. So when you are in times where your business and your services are in high demand, this is a time not to pull back, but to invest. And so I had just had a conversation with somebody this morning about what the sort of investment could mean to pick up a virtual assistant, to pick up an ISA, to give them some time back so that they can focus on the areas of opportunity in their market. So just to recap, that's two things. If time has become a limiting factor in your growth, it's time to expand. And then number two is if you have a special opportunity to grow in your market thanks to some sort of external force, it's time to expand to give you the chance to take advantage of that special opportunity.
Got it. Tanya, anything to add here? I know ISA specifically you haven't tried, but just in terms of even growing your team, like how do you decide what is the right time to like start getting this help and not be doing everything yourself?
Like Chris was saying, a lot of it has to do with time. And so, whenever it got to the point that, I wasn't seeing my family very often and I was working crazy hours, that's when I hired an assistant. And then, before you knew it, I was hiring buyer's agents to come in and take on leads. And it has really grown beyond that. What I have found is that with my team, when we have expanded the team, the business has expanded with it. So one of the things I think people get scared of with hiring someone is they say, well, I don't really have the business to support that. What you find is that more opportunities become available or visible to you because now you have the time to sit back and do more business planning and evaluate ROI and things like that. You're not just throwing spaghetti at the wall and just trying to survive the day.
Yeah, I think that's so true. I think we all go through this, right? Like what you need to be able to delegate, you need to be able to get support, and that's when you'll actually work on the more strategic parts of your business. And I think that's very true when it comes to lead conversion as well. Is like your job is to build relationships, close deals, and if there's nurturing that somebody else can do, then seek the support. Or if there's transaction coordination somebody else can do, then seek the support. And don't wait for your business to be exploding to get to that point. That's time you can start creating for yourself sooner too. Mm-hmm. The other thing I wanted to talk about is, Chris, I know you have spent time thinking about real estate farming as well, and strategies around that. Can we talk a little bit? I know that's a very unique type of lead generation. So can we talk a little bit about what that is and how folks should go about it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll just first start off by saying it is a unique approach, but the common thread, the foundations of real estate farming are just like what Michael and Tanya have been talking about. It's about developing relationships. So in a nutshell, if you're not familiar with real estate farming, here's how it works. You pick a specific geographic area in your market, like a neighborhood or a street or a block. I always tell people 200 homes or less is a great way to get started in real estate farming. And your goal with real estate farming, in one sentence, is to become the real estate go-to in that particular neighborhood. And you do that by establishing yourself as an expert in all topics real estate, home ownership, and being a part of that community, so that when people have questions about buying or selling real estate, you are the person that they think of. So this is not a crazy idea here. People do this all the time with direct mail marketing when they say to themselves, well, I just want to be top of mind when somebody thinks about real estate. Real estate farming takes that to the next level by creating a strategy of consistent delivery of value to members of those communities, so that you're not just top of mind when real estate questions come up. You are the person who gets a text message, not even just a cold phone call or a website visit. You have established yourself as a member of that community, so that people who are in your farm, they have your phone number in their phone. They're just sending you a text message like they would send their neighbor or their friend or the local shopkeeper that they've become familiar with. So real estate farming is about creating relationships, but it's about going deeper. It's about going deeper in a smaller area, so that you can become the go-to real estate source in that specific spot. The real tricky thing about farming is that it's a long-term game. We look at a lot of lead generation efforts online, and we are looking at relatively short-term exchanges. Think about Zillow Premier Agent. Somebody is on Zillow, they see a house that they like, they see a name next to the listing, they click it for more information. That's a relatively short exchange. That development to your contact, could be as short as 30 seconds. A farming relationship, on the other hand, could take months or even potentially years to develop, of consistently delivering value to members of that community. And the reason that it takes so long is the vast majority of people in that community, when you start sending them message, delivering them value, they're not interested in buying and selling yet. They're just living there. And you come in with your provision of value and start to establish yourself as a real estate expert. It's going to take some time for those people to come around, because they're not interested in buying and selling yet. However, when they are interested, you become that person who gets the phone call, And ultimately, real estate farming can be one of the few areas that you can develop predictability in your business, because a highly functioning farm can produce somewhere in the neighborhood of 15 to 25% or more of the listings to a single agent. So if you've got a 200 home farm that, let's say, turns over 10 homes a year, if you are picking up 3 listings, 30% of those listings, you can pretty much count on 3 listings a year out of this farm, as long as you maintain that relationship, maintain that value delivery. And that sort of consistency is the sort of thing that big businesses are built on. It's not a hobby any longer. It's a real business.
Yeah, I mean, it always has to be a balance between the short term and the long term, right? So there's different initiatives for both. So I want to talk a little bit about the change that has happened with, everyone working from home, everyone, being careful about their safety, and then in the parallel end, all these low interest rates. So how has the market shifted, and how has your approach shifted in this time frame? Michael, can you touch on that a little bit? I know Bay Area is distinct, and Tanya can talk about her market, but how has this change impacted your business?
It's been a good thing. I mean, the good thing about the Bay Area is that we have these cities that bleed into each other. I think within a 30-mile radius, you're going to hit tons of different counties, tons of different cities. And the shift became everyone wanted to be in a packed city like San Francisco, paying $5,000 in rent for only 800 square feet just to hang out at the Lover's Park. That was the thing, right? Let's go to the city. Everything's there. And then all of a sudden now people start checking out Oakland. Wow, oh, Oakland is great, so on and so forth. But right now the suburbs are super popular right now. People are like, well, I'll take land. I'll take an extra 2,000 square feet lot actually. And they're moving out more to like the Contra Costa counties, the Richmonds, the Vallejos, and things of that magnitude. And we're seeing that shift happen. And we're actually seeing low rents in San Francisco right now, which is really crazy. Like rents in San Francisco are super low right now. A lot of inventory in regards to that. So us at Realtors, definitely digital happen. I mean, even going to an office right now requires so much. You have to sign up, you have to wear a mask, you have to wipe down the clothes. I mean, there's so much to do just to spend 1 hour at the office. And think about the hour it takes you just to get ready to go to the office, right? So you're spending an hour to go to the office, be at the office just to leave, make sure you have to clean up. So for me, this is home. This is where I'm setting up shop. This is where I'm able to talk to people. This is where I'm able to reach a lot of people through that. So being able to be virtual has become super, super important for us, especially in the Bay Area. Even to the point where I'm even doing virtual showings. I'm having my clients from Chicago, for example. I had this lady in Chicago just bought in San Pablo. A majority of our tours were exactly on my phone. So you had to really definitely shift for that. And then I have a COVID bag too. So I have like these wipes in there and sanitation and so on and so forth. But for us not to understand that, look, we have to be virtual, we have to be digital, you have to invest into that is super, super important right now. So I highly get an iPad, get a microphone. We are doing really well in the Bay Area right now in real estate. I don't think we skipped a beat. I think rates right now, I think are 2.875, and the lowest I've seen is 1.99. So those that were pre-approved at like 4% at 1.5 now can go up to like 1.7 with a 2.5 rate. It's insane. So it's been really a good shift here. A lot of our realtors are super busy right now. The market is hot. I was able to beat out 40 offers just last week. Yes, 40 offers, 400K over asking. And people are understanding that like houses are on sale right now because of interest rates. And I know a lot of my loan officer friends are exhausted right now because not only are they doing purchase business, they're doing refinance business. So it's been a busy time, especially here in the Bay Area.
Yeah. Tanya, I know you were talking about lower inventory in your market and how that's changed your approach to these online leads as well. So can you talk a little bit more about that?
So just like Michael was saying, we are a suburb of St. Louis, and we're very affordable. You can get a lot of house for your money where we are. Average sales price is around $200,000 in our marketplace. So we are seeing a lot of people move to our area from the larger cities. We're seeing people move across the river from St. Louis. because they're able to have a great space because home has become very important to a lot of people now. But our inventory is extremely low. We are seeing multiple offers. We are seeing cash buyers coming into the marketplace, more so in the last couple of years than recently, despite the low interest rates. A couple of things that we have done in the shifting market is we've transitioned away from open houses. There was a ban on open houses in our market locally for a few months. Now we have gone into doing virtual showings, and now we have on-demand showings. So we actually have a QR code outside of our listings that take people to our Calendly app that will allow people to see our calendars, and then they can have on-demand showings. So they see the house they want at the time they want. They're not waiting on someone to call them back. They're not having to call some third-party website to hopefully get into the house. They schedule it for Tuesday at 4 o'clock and boom, they're in the house. We've also done a lot of Zoom calls with listings, and we offer virtual showings for buyers. And that has been incredible for a lot of people who maybe weren't quite comfortable going out into the marketplace, or for sellers who weren't comfortable with having the general public just walk through their home.
You were also mentioning that like buyers right now are working with like multiple agents, right? Like, because the inventory is so low. So I think that makes that whole point about like relationships and, you know, treating them as people all the more important in the first conversations you have with these online leads.
It is absolutely the case. We have discovered, because we're a pretty small market, so we have, I want to say we have about 1,000 agents in our area here. So we're not as big as San Francisco, and many of us work together and know each other. And so we'll grab coffee together and you'll hear, oh, I was working with this person or that person. And the story begins to kind of coalesce. And then you begin to realize, oh, you were talking to, you know, John and his wife. So yeah, because of the low inventory, we're seeing a lot of people that are kind of, they're talking to multiple people because they want to see who can get them into the house first and who can help them be the first in the door so that they can make that offer. And so for that reason, the relationship side of it is even more important. You really do want to be the winner as far as they're liking and trusting you. Yeah,
for sure. So let's do this. There are like a few questions that have come in, and some of them are pretty exciting that I want to get into. Can you guys just end with one piece of advice before we go into questions? One piece of advice for anyone that has not invested in online leads yet. What would you say to them? And, you know, one quick piece of advice on how they can get started. Chris, let's start with you.
Sure. One piece of advice, do the math, understand where your return on investment is. Guys, if I came to you with a deal and I said, you write me a check for $1,000, I'll write you a check for $5,000, you would take that deal any day of the week. And to some degree, this is what online lead generation really boils down to, is investing in systems and in products and in the processes that are going to make those systems successful. But ultimately, there are systems where you can write a check for $1,000 and get a check back in the form of commission income for $5,000. And if you are not considering these as options, and you are relying only on your sphere of influence, only on referrals, only on newspaper ads, your business is only going to grow so much. So if this is a hobby for you, great. You're probably right where you want to be. If this is a career for you, it's time to start thinking about the ways that you can level that up and return on investment. Do the math. If you want a check for $5,000, write a check for $1,000. That's easy.
Got it. Do the math. Michael?
Yeah, I'm going to use an analogy. I'm an analogy guy. So it's kind of like fishing, a fisherman doesn't go out with one pole. They have multiple poles, right? So you need that, right? So be it that you are big on referrals and that's a great thing. And everything's happening through that realm. That's awesome. But how much more could it happen with online leads? Think about, especially the Bay Area. I won't be able to speak to other markets, but most people in the Bay Area aren't from the Bay Area. The Bay Area is not buying the Bay Area no more. They're from different states, different places. So that's where they're going. So they have to be online. You may not get a referral from Nebraska, but someone from Nebraska may move out here. So I would consider, online leads for sure. And the other thing is that leads never die. Like I was an example of like, hey, a lead in January can be money in October. And for us as realtors, we tend to be fast on it. Oh, you're not ready to buy? Well, go ahead and go do that. But instead of stacking that up, like right now I tell people it's Christmas money. Everything we do right now is holiday money, so we need to focus on that. So in regards to like not looking at online leads, especially now, I think you're missing out on a huge bucket because we live in 50 states and people are moving. So I would recommend to add that little, fishing pole to your avenues.
Got it. Tanya?
Yeah, so I would also follow up with what Michael said about the fact that, just because you get an online lead and maybe they don't qualify or maybe they're not ready to buy right now, they know someone who may want to buy or sell. And so treating everyone like a person versus, just constantly just being all business with someone on the phone. I mean, it's about building a relationship. It's about having fun. It's about solving problems. And if you're not doing those three things with your online people that you're meeting, you're not able to leverage that into future business. I mean, every single person you meet, every single email address, every single phone call you get is another opportunity for up to 4 to 5 more people that may need your help. And so everyone needs to be excited about that.
Yeah. I think one thing I'll just add to this, to all your pieces of advice, is just the importance of getting started. I think there's a lot of like fear built in around like, I don't want to spend so much money and I don't want to, just put money down the drain. I think there's something to say about just picking a source, starting to invest money into it, giving yourself like a time limit and see how it performs, and then move on to something different if it doesn't, but you still, you're still learning through that. And I think that's huge too. There shouldn't be anything holding you back because it's clearly working for a lot of you and it can work for you as well. Cool. So I have a few questions lined up. I am going to start with Gina's question. And I think this is like very timely because everyone's freaking out about Zillow's new, foray into becoming a brokerage. So her question is, crazy that you're paying Zillow to put you out of business. I know this is like a controversial thing. A lot of agents tend to think like this, but then there are other agents that have leveraged Zillow to, grow their business. So Chris, do you want to take this?
Yes, I would love to. And just coincidentally, if you're interested in getting into fights with me about Zillow, definitely follow me on Twitter because I have a very low barrier to my filter on Twitter when it comes to real estate topics. So come follow me there. Okay, so a couple of thoughts here. First of all, I think it's important here to validate Gina's perspective because there is definitely a big concern in the real estate agent and brokerage community about this. And I'll be the first to say, I saw Rich Barton, CEO and founder of Zillow, on stage at an event years ago where he said unequivocally, we will not become a brokerage. And what do you know? They're kind of becoming a brokerage here. But I'll say this, there is value in what Zillow is doing because the real problem, the real issue with Zillow becoming a brokerage is them taking market share. And personally, I just don't think, doesn't matter how big Zillow is, their scale of infrastructure will not be able to replicate the localized expertise that real estate professionals can provide. And I'll give you a good example of this. I personally would have no idea the specific markets that Michael named as San Francisco alternatives that would be interesting to would-be San Francisco buyers that are now interesting to them. And unless you live and work in Michael's market and have his experience both with the community and with the clientele there, you are not going to be able to replicate that experience. And unless Zillow plugs in a lot of super experienced professionals into each of the key markets in the United States, which realistically is just not, that's just not an economy of scale that they or really anyone possesses. Zillow's foray here is going to be competitive in maybe, I would guess, a half a dozen markets. And their market share is, I would guess, going to peter out at about their market share for iBuying, which is in the single digits. So are they going to be competitors? Yeah, in some markets. Are they going to take some listings? Yeah, in some markets. But for the vast majority of people, Zillow is the primary source. I mean, it's insane. Something like 90% of consumers spend time on Zillow during their home buying and selling process. We know our consumers are there. Let's leverage that traffic and recognize that their competition is going to be Zillow as a competitor is going to be localized to specific markets, and ultimately they're not going to be able to replicate your years of experience and expertise. And so when it comes down to it, the amount of competition they're going to provide, my take is relatively limited.
Okay. Anything, Michael, you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, exactly what Chris said. My competitor is not Zillow. My competitor is a realtor next to me in my market. Most of these individuals understand that Zillow is a platform. And to be frank, I make money off Zillow. That's why I still do it. And I don't, in regards to that, it's like, you go to Ruth Chris, you have a certain steak and you pay a certain price for that. You go to Black Angus and you get a different type of steak and you pay for that. So for me, I only do platforms that I make money off of. If I wasn't making money off Zillow, believe me, B, I wouldn't do it. But I do like the fact that it allows you to partner up with lenders to help you pay for that cost. So whatever cost you may be taking on, you can half that cost and now your ROI goes up more. So at the end of the day, if Zillow is making me profitable, who am I to sit there and bash them? I'm not going to. I love every real estate company out there. I love Remax. I think Coldwell Banker is phenomenal. I think Keller Williams is great. I don't have an issue with any real estate company, to be totally honest with you. But the fact of the matter is I'm still making money off Zillow. It's a great platform for me. But at the same time, once they connect me, I get them off Zillow. Now they're on my site. Now they're looking at here, and I take them off Zillow. So that's my goal as well. So yeah, I mean, I totally get where Gina's coming from. And I think I get that at least 5 times a week. But at the end of the day, it's still a profitable business for me. And that's why I continue with it.
Got it. All right. I'm going to move on to the next question. This is about structuring your team. So it says, what resources would you recommend in regards to how to select the right people for a team, structure the right team relationship and expectations, and conduct training to fit the way our team already operates? So I think this is like, it's a lot of questions. But I think the big thing here is, how do you think about recruiting the team and training the team? I think those are the big things. Tanya, you want to take this?
Sure. So whenever I hired my unlicensed assistant some years ago, I had this great agent who had a team up in Chicago that basically sent me everything that he used, his platform for hiring. And then I actually hired a third party to help me with finding the person. So they submitted applications. There was a 3-step process. There were a couple of interviews they went through before I actually met with them. But establishing that assistant position early was a big part of it. And then for my team particularly, I am the team leader, but I'm also the listing agent. I only do listings. And then my buyer's agents, they come on the team and they only represent buyers. My job as the team leader is to help them nurture their leads and nurture their business, also to help them with problem solving and troubleshooting. But also the biggest part is feeding them, making sure that they have enough business, making sure they have access to enough leads, making sure they know how to convert leads, and running scripts and talking to them just about every day about their business. So as a team leader, it's a big hat, but I see people all the time start teams, and it's more of a relationship of convenience versus a relationship of business. And so you'll see a couple of people, they're like, oh, we should be a team. We always hang out together. And then nobody's driving the car. You've got a 50-50 relationship and somebody is mad. And I don't see how those things work out well. I see that being a very frustrating prospect for me.
Got it. Michael, what would you say about that?
Where did all these teams come from? There's so many teams now. It's so funny, which is great. It's phenomenal. I love seeing these teams, but I think there's just so many different team structures out there, right? So for ourselves, we kind of chose a mini branch team method, meaning like we didn't put our names on our team members, contracts. We didn't put our names. So we weren't called the Bardales Strange Group. We chose to be called East Bay Group. We wanted more just a general thing. And we wanted each of our agents to have their own identity and that their production meant more. And we care more about building alumni rather than those that stick with our team for years to years to years. I would love to see a member move on and then build their own team, So I think there's just many structures out there. There's kind of like, okay, well, like Tanya's structure is a great structure for a team as well. So it depends, on how you are as a personality. But for us, and even myself, it was basically just creating individuals. So it was more of a branch style where we're more like a branch manager helping realtors in our team do their own business. We would help them, provide a lead system, we'd provide training, do sales meetings, just like that. But I think the difference for us was we allowed the members of our team to write, contracts all in their name, never in ours as well. So depending on your style, there's just so many different methods out there, but I think you can create your own team the way you want, especially now.
Got it. Yeah, there's so many different ways of doing it, like you said, and it's also very style dependent of the team leader, right? And that's incredible. So the next question I have is, and this is from the chat platform. I don't know if there's a exact answer for this, but what is the best lead generation platform? Any specific recommendations for agents on what lead generation platform to use? Tanya, you want to try that?
I think it would be the one that is the most popular in your area. So take a look at what people around you are using to search for homes and what user interfaces are actually easy for people across the board to use, because it is a game of numbers with online people. Most online lead generations, my understanding is, if you can convert 4 to 6 of every 100 phone calls you get, then that's considered to be a considerable amount of success. So a 4 to 6%, rate, the conversion rate, excuse me, is, so then it becomes a numbers game. You're about trying to get as many eyeballs, as many people on you as possible, so that you can meet meet that quota, and that becomes the basis for the ROI.
Right, got it. The next question I have is, Letitia asked this: how would you recommend an agent go about buying online leads if they do not have consistent deals coming in? In other words, how do I afford buying Zillow, Redfin, or Bold leads? Michael?
Yeah, I think in the beginning, a lot of these online lead programs like Facebook ads and social media ads, they make you buy a CRM as well. CRM you may not even need. So you're spending like $600 on the CRM and another $600 on the marketing itself. So I recommend just starting basic and creating your Facebook business page and start creating ads that way. I have a lot of video that I can share with people on how to go about creating Facebook ads that are as little as $1. Sometimes they're even like 75 cents a lead. So if you wanted to start basic or whatnot, and you have a basic Facebook business page, it's a great way to kind of control that. So if you sit there and say, okay, I have $50 this month to spend on leads, great. At $1 a lead, that's 50 leads right there. So I think that's that. You don't have to buy a CRM. It comes on an Excel spreadsheet. You know, it's probably the lowest hanging fruit right now for leads. And then you can boost it on Instagram as well. So that's the one thing about like Bold Leads and all these other ones, CR Interactive, for example, they require you to pay, you know, almost the same cost as leads as their platform as well. So if you don't have that ability, then just go do it yourself on Facebook ads. And if you need some help with that, let me know.
Nice. Thank you. The next question I have, and I'm going to summarize this a little bit, but how do you handle online referral leads? And what if these leads have to go through specific relocation companies? So I think these are the type of leads where, you know, they to get, I guess, their bonus from their company or whatever, they have to go through a specific relocation setup. How do you handle conversations like that, and what do you do in those scenarios?
Well, for myself, it's just another way you just get business, right? So sometimes you can't always get the full commission on everything. Sometimes it's that. So when I get that, I treat it as, okay, well, that's my marketing money, you know, so like that's where that's going to go. So I'll go ahead and kick back the 35%, but also too, now you can add that to your persona as being a relocation specialist. So you can kind of like piggyback that with also some Facebook ads about relocation and just do a whole thing about that. So if you're going to give that 35%, you know, that's fine too. You know, again, a deal's a deal, right? At the end of the day, I didn't come too far along that $2,000 wasn't a big deal to me, and it still is. So for me, I don't really turn down money. You know, I think when you do that, you're kind of turning down the universe and saying, hey, I don't want to get paid any money. I'm only going to do this. So I think just, you know, you're going to have to fit that program, but also too, you get that credibility of being a relocation that you could probably use for marketing and maybe get out of that platform and start creating your own. That's how I believe.
I think I would jump in here too, just to piggyback on what Michael was saying. To especially early in your business, to be thoughtful about a deal being a deal, because volume is in itself a builder of your business. If you've got a sold sign in the yard, it doesn't matter if you're getting paid $10,000 or $1,000 on that commission. People with visibility driving by that sold sign, that's going to build your business. And so especially early on in your career, be thoughtful of the intrinsic value of a transaction, not just the dollar value of that transaction. I want to piggyback that though, to say, as your business advances, you also need to be thoughtful about what there's really no good way of saying this, so I'll just put it out there. What your hourly rate is. If a referral through a referral company plus another agent is going to end up netting you, $800, just as an example, after everybody takes their cut of it, and you're going to spend 10 hours on this particular transaction, you're winding up with about $80 an hour in your going rate. If your typical going rate is $320 an hour, based on the typical commission income for a median property in your market, you want to be thoughtful about that, because there is certainly a slippery slope that opportunity cost can create for you. And all of a sudden you're spending time in areas that aren't going to advance your annual goals, which are, being able to solidify your marketing budget, solidify your operating budget, put money away for taxes, put money away for a rainy day, actually be able to pay yourself. There's lots of different priorities you have to consider. So early in your career, make sure that you're valuing transactions more than just dollars, but as your career begins to develop, make sure that you're taking into account that opportunity cost too.
Got it. I think that's a great place for us to end this discussion. Thank you so much for all your insights. I think I'm sure everyone took away a lot. I took away a lot. We're excited to keep offering more and more of these sessions. We have Tuesday Talks, which happen every other Tuesday. And we're hosting Radius Summit on October 27th, which is going to be a half-day event with some incredible speakers. So please follow us on our social channels, on Facebook, on Instagram, on LinkedIn for more updates. We're going to share the panelists' social profiles as well, so you can follow them for more insights. And just thank you so much for joining, and we hope to continue hosting these. Thank you.